Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
Loud, unfiltered, and live nationwide. It's the Alex Strouf Show, presented by Cream City Central.
This is the year, even in a first-year system with Mike McCarthy, that Dallas has to win the NFC East. They have to. If Dallas doesn't win the NFC East this year, something is majorly wrong.
Want to chime in? Join the live chat on either Facebook or Twitter at Cream City Central. Your comment could be featured on today's show. From the WWSP 90 FM studios in Stevens Point, Wisconsin, here's Alex Strouf.
Oh, yeah, baby. Double cheeks up on a Thursday.
All right, let's get it.
Alongside producer Kyle. As always, I'm Alex Strouf. This is the Alex Strouf Show presented by Cream City Central. We've made it to July, officially a month into this, Kyle.
We're 6 months through the worst year in the history of humanity.
They had us in the first half, not going to lie.
But except we're down 42-0 and our star player is out.
Did you see the video Joey Molinaro put out alongside Chris Collinsworth? It was like a halftime show of this. And
no, but I need to see it now because
Chris Collinsworth did the slide.
Chris Collinsworth is great. Oh,
he
man.
did the slide and then talked about how the Earth is down 42-0 at halftime. It was great stuff, but nonetheless, we hopefully have some good stuff for you ahead today. Eli Berkovits of PackerReport.com will join us later this hour to discuss all things Packers. Obviously, Jordan Love and A.J. Dillon inking their contracts yesterday, so we'll get into that with him, as well as his great spiel. For the last 50-something days, Eli Berkovits has put out his favorite Aaron Rodgers non-touchdown passes that blew his mind. He's put in a different non-touchdown pass every day of Aaron Rodgers, and, of course, they are absolutely phenomenal. So we'll talk about all that with Eli later this hour, and then in the 4 o'clock hour for just about the entirety of it, one of my best friends, Victor Hensley, all the way from North Carolina, will jump in and guest host with Kyle and I. We'll dive into pretty much everything. Now, today we're going to do things a little bit different than normally. We didn't really plan the show. We're free-flowing on a Thursday. For the next 2 hours, phone lines are wide open. If you want to get in, I recommend you call now, 877-8-STROUF or 877-878-7683. The number's rolling across your screen constantly. Kyle's ready to take your calls. Well, Kyle, tell me something I don't know, buddy. What's new in the world of Kyle? You got to attend live sports last night.
I did.
Right?
To attend for the first time since middle of March. There's been live sports in the state of Wisconsin, and that is thanks to our friends at the Green Bay Booyah of the Northwoods League, and I am a cameraman for them. Gotcha. So got to sit right in on the action and was there. So
nice. Yeah, so I did the public address announcing for them last summer. Now, obviously, living in Stevens Point, so not really easy for me to do that. But you're in Capital Credit Union Park now. My boy Jaron Matheny, who we'll have on the show probably within the next 2 weeks, back on the play-by-play. I listened to him last night. It was good, man. It was good to listen to real baseball. That's live once again. So that was that was awesome. Was it really warm out? What was the attendance like? I want to talk to you about this.
Well, they are limiting the crowd size to 25% of the stadium, which is about 1,000, little over 1,000 people. Yeah. I would say it was pretty close to that. 800-900 people were there last night. It felt, I mean, as far as the atmosphere, I mean, it was nice finally having baseball back here in the crack of the bat. My favorite part, of course, is hearing the cleats on the concrete, the crack of the cleat. So that's my favorite thing. So that's how I, kind of got the nostalgia feel again. As far as temperature and stuff, it was hot at first, but I mean, once it got night side, it was nice and cool. It was great.
And then my other question would be like masks. Was there a lot being worn? Not really. What was the situation amongst the bleachers? I'm just curious.
All staff had to wear masks.
Okay, so you were wearing a mask.
I was wearing a mask.
Gotcha.
Not a lot of fans were wearing masks.
That doesn't shock me. I mean, they were outside, and we know that helps. But was it spread out though? I mean,
it was pretty spread out.
Gotcha.
I believe if you buy a ticket and you're with like a family or a pod of some sort, you can stay seated together, but you need a certain amount of distance between you and somebody else. I believe it's like 3 or 4 seats in between. But like if you were to go with like a parent or a friend or something, you guys could sit close together, sit next to each other in a seat. So it was a pretty decent crowd. It was a good night.
Good stuff. Well, hello to John. Hello to Kathleen in the Facebook chat. Chime in. We love chatting with you. So good afternoon to both of you chiming in on Facebook. Well, Kyle, we might as well get into a topic that we'll get into quite a bit, and that is our Twitter poll of the day. So let's jump right into that.
It's the Strouf Show Twitter question.
Yes! Yes! Yes!
Chime in on today's topic at Cream City Central on Twitter.
Today's Strouf Show Twitter question is the following, and it is close, man. This is the closest poll we've had since we started the show. So today's question, as you see on the screen, who finishes the 2020 season with more wins? Tom Brady and the Bucks or Cam Newton and the Patriots? Brady and the Bucks, 47.5% of the votes. Newton and the Pats, 52.5% of the votes. That pulls up till the end of the show. You can find it at Cream City Central on Twitter. And we will take your calls all day about that. So once again, the phone number scrolling across the bottom of your screen, 877-8-STROUF or 877-878-7683 is the number. Kyle, ready to take your calls. We'll keep an eye on that. Kyle, which way did you go?
I mentioned it when we were talking about this on Tuesday.
Yeah.
I firmly believe that we are going to find out that Tom Brady is in fact a system quarterback, and Cam Newton and the Patriots are going to end with more wins than Tom Brady and the Bucks.
I love your optimism by all means, but it's tough. So if you have a strong opinion on this, Michael Bolig, he did leave us a voicemail, but we can also give us a call live if you'd like. And I see Scott Schaefer in the comments as well saying Pats all the way. So phone lines are open if you want to talk about this a little bit more, 877-878-7683. But while we will keep an eye on that all episode long, I want to change gears now. I want to go over to the NBA side of things as Giannis and Coach Bud spoke to the media yesterday in a virtual setting, the virtual press conference, which has become the top way to do press conferences. Excuse me, I got distracted. Everybody's distracting me. So they spoke to the media yesterday, and obviously a lot of this talk is about the COVID, the pandemic, all the testing that's coming back positive amongst NBA players. Is the season going to look like? The pods. Obviously, Giannis has a newborn son that he has to leave to go live in Orlando. So a lot of things being discussed between the media, Coach Bud, and Giannis yesterday. But the one thing that's really stuck out, and we've talked about this prior times, folks, and this is the metaphorical asterisk that will be left alongside the NBA champion at the culmination of this restarted season, right? So whoever wins this title is going to have an asterisk next to their name. I think that's crap, flat out, because this is the weirdest season, number one, we've ever seen. There's never been a season where we just stop for 4 months, 5 months, pick it back up to end the regular season, then we go into the playoffs. I mean, this doesn't happen. It's never happened in any sport ever. So to tell me that every team has 5 months of rest And now they get to go back out, and whoever wins, it's going to be what? I mean, you have to win at the very least 4, 4, 4, 4. So 16 games, and you're probably going to lose some. So you're playing at least 20 playoff games, at least. That's assuming every series is 4-1. You tell me that's an asterisk because there's no fans, because there's no home court advantage. I think it's tougher with no fans. Don't players feed off that? I mentioned the other day I was a JV basketball star, right? I fed off the 3 fans that were there, and 2 of which were my parents, but that's beside the point. So yeah, I think to tell me that there will be an asterisk around the champion this year is garbage. And Mike Budenholzer, the reigning coach of the year, had this to say regarding that topic.
The champion from this, experience from this season, I think is going to be more worthy and probably more special than any champion. And every year there's things that, I guess in theory make it easier to be the champion. And every year I think there are things in reality that make it more difficult to be the champion. And usually the things that make it more difficult far outweigh anything that makes it less or easier, if that's even the right word. So I think the challenges of this season, this pandemic, everything that's happening in our country, the ability for a team to go back and compete and play against, the other 22 teams in the NBA and come out as a champion. In my mind, it'll be more special and more meaningful than every championship, to be honest with you. They're all incredible. They're all meaningful. They're all, if you won one, you could say whatever you want about it. That team, is happy.
Yeah, they're happy, and they still have the LOB at the end of the day, right? The Larry O'Brien Trophy. So Coach Bud's right. I mean, this is tougher. And we talked a lot about this in past weeks, where what's the chemistry going to look like? What's the tempo going to look like? What's everything going to look like when these teams come back together? And I don't look at Milwaukee quite as much as I look at a team maybe like Portland or a team like Los Angeles, the Lakers, who are having guys drop out. And Brooklyn's another team we talked about a little bit on Tuesday, where guys are dropping out. They've got to bring in new pieces. They're kind of starting all over, right? This is the start of almost a new season, but you already have a record, and you already know where you stand. You already know for the Nets, they're in the 7th seed. For the Lakers, they're in the 1 seed in the West. You already have that determined when you come back. But your roster is going to look a lot different than it did on March 10th, March 11th, March 12th, the last time we played basketball. So to have 4 or 5 months off and to come back and win a title, that says a lot about you as a team, as a roster, as a coaching staff, more maybe than ever. I think that says more about you this year than it has in past years, where last year the Raptors won, and in past years it was the Warriors, and obviously the Cavs had one in there. Those teams aren't going to be built like the one that wins the title this year. The one that hoists the LOB at the end of the year, that team is going to be specially crafted. That team is going to be specially built. That team is going to be unique and unprecedented, is a word we've used a lot in the last several months. The team that wins the Larry O'Brien Trophy this year is going to be just absolutely special. Because like I said, we talk about the chemistry. We talk about how this is going to look really, really weird when the Bucks come back on July 31st. How are they going to mesh, right? It's not like they've been able to practice together a whole lot. Obviously, they're going to get some tune-up time here before we hit July 31st. But it's going to look really, really weird come July 31st. When we're sitting down and watching the NBA come back on the 31st of July, don't be surprised if teams are only scoring in the 80s at the end of the buzzer. Don't be surprised if we're not seeing 110 to 102 scores. I mean, this is going to be, you're going to have a deeper rotation because you can't have guys out there playing 40 minutes. And that's what the Pelicans organization said earlier this week about a guy like Zion. We're not going to go throw him out there for 48 minutes. We're going to play him maybe 30. You've got to tune up. And even though these guys are expected to still be in great basketball shape, there's not a guarantee that you're going to come out looking as sharp as you looked on March 10th or you looked in February before the All-Star break. It's going to look a lot different. It is. And but it's exciting. And the fact that you think there's going to be an asterisk on there means nothing to me, and it means nothing to the reigning MVP. Here's what Giannis had to say about the potential of an asterisk, a word he can't pronounce, yesterday to the media.
I think, the game is going to be played mentally a lot. Not being able to see your family, being there for 3 months, playing games with no fans. So it's going to be mental. You got to push yourself through this. But at the end of the day, I've heard a lot of people say that, there's going to be, how you guys say, the star next to this championship. I feel like at the end of the day, this is going to be the toughest championship you could ever win. Because the circumstances are really, really tough right now. So whoever wants it more is going to be able to go out there and take it.
As he says it, the star, the asterisk, the metaphorical asterisk that'll be placed next to this champion, but it's not going to happen. As Giannis says, this is tougher. These circumstances are unlike any other NBA playoffs, let alone the NBA Finals. You're not going to be around your family for at least 3 months. I mean, that's got to suck. I can't even imagine being in especially Giannis's shoes. He just had a son this calendar year, if I'm not mistaken. So, yeah, that's tough. That sucks. But nonetheless, no way you can place an asterisk next to what we hope is the Milwaukee Bucks once they win the LOB. Again, we hope. That is just ridiculous to me. Phone lines open 877-878-7683. Anything in the Bucks or on our Twitter question today, who's going to win more games in 2020? Will it be Tom Brady and the Buccaneers, or will it be Cam Newton and the Pats? Still very, very close. 52 to 48% right now. Newton and the Pats in front. See, the hype around this Cam Newton thing that we dove into a bit on Tuesday, everybody's really blowing this up, but I don't think it's unnecessary. I don't think it's silly by any means that we're saying, yeah, he's a league MVP. He's only got $1 million guaranteed in this contract. Number one, I can't believe that. But number two, he's coming out here to prove it. And to think he's not the starter is silly. Producer Kyle, come on in here and join me.
Well, I did want to talk about Giannis and Coach Bud going back a little bit.
Sorry. Yeah, well, I was going to get back to that. Yeah.
And I love how, I mean, the media is going to spin this however way they want it. If the Lakers or the Clippers or even the Celtics win the championship, which I hope doesn't happen, you're going to hear that, they fought through a lot of adversity and blah, 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 and all this crap. But if the Bucks or the Raptors or the Nuggets, or really any team that nobody expects to win, and I shouldn't say nobody expects to win it, not the big market teams.
Right.
You're gonna hear, there's an asterisk next to this season. I mean, would they have really won if it was a full 82 game season and all this crap? And you're gonna hear it no matter what. If the Bucks win, which I hope they do, if they win the Larry O'Brien, and Brook Lopez wins the MVP, Finals MVP.
I hate that. It's got to stop.
You're gonna hear it. You're gonna hear that. You're gonna hear ESPN. You're gonna hear. I mean, you're gonna hear it from a lot of people who have a keyboard on Twitter.
So you think even if what about a team like Toronto who won the title last year? They're the 2 seed in the East right now. If they go out and somehow miraculously win this whole thing,
I don't think it's necessarily out of the realm for them to win it.
See, I still do, and that's a conversation we can dive into. I know they're the 2 seed. I know they're playing. At least they were playing their butts off. They look great. I mean, Nick Nurse is no doubt, probably in my mind, the front runner for Coach of the Year. He has to be.
Yeah.
But I still don't see them as a legitimate contender. I mean, I think they can make the Eastern Conference Finals again, but I don't see them getting to the title game, and I don't see them winning it if they do. But yeah, I mean, I still think they can make a run. I just don't think they can get there this year. They lose Kawhi, which is just that was clearly the piece that brought them over the edge. They no longer have DeMar DeRozan. I know Pascal Siakam. I know Fred VanVleet. I know, obviously, Kyle Lowry are all solid pieces, and Serge Ibaka as well. But is that really enough to get you all the way to the finals when you look at a team that has Giannis and Chris Middleton and Eric Bledsoe and your guy Brook Lopez, who's evolved into a dual threat guy?
A Finals MVP candidate?
A Finals MVP candidate, fine. I'll say it once just to make you smile. I think they're good enough to get to the Eastern Conference Finals without trouble. I just don't think they can get past Milwaukee this year, Toronto. But it'll be interesting to see. I mean, assuming everything goes well, and we talked about this a little bit on Tuesday with the MLB, I think we might talk about it again in hour 2, where if the season starts and cancels, midway through, there's a possibility that happens with the NBA too. Obviously a slighter one given the bubble and that everybody in there should be testing negative by the time they get there, and hopefully nobody tests positive while they're there, or at least minute people, not as many people as you'd expect test positive, right? And they can keep going, no problem. It's going to be really fun come playoff time, right? I mean, you're going to have, obviously, you have this play-in game now, which ever since it's been proposed, I've been a huge fan of. And, it's a cool little element they're adding to make it even more exciting, given that there's no fans. But nonetheless, exciting stuff. And I'm really looking forward to the NBA. And you can tell Giannis is itching to get back on the court. Even Coach Bud, you could tell in his voice, is getting pretty darn excited himself. But one more thing before we get to Eli Berkovits here in about 10 minutes is another format change regarding the NFL now. It became official. We talked about the possibility of it a few weeks ago. But that is the preseason moving to 2 games entirely. Like, this is a done deal now. And I've said it for years. 4 games in the NFL preseason, ridiculous. 3 games, too much. 2 games, yeah, I can deal with that, but I think 1 game is really all you need in the NFL preseason. So weeks 1 and 4 of the NFL preseason are now axed from the schedule. It'll now be the 2nd and 3rd games that were scheduled to play will now be the 1st and 2nd, the only 2 games being played. And this is the right move. This is the right move for many reasons for the National Football League. You look at it as obviously, you don't, obviously this year's a lot different because we don't know what training camp's going to look like in full yet. I mean, we saw Randall Cobb's tweet over the weekend and him saying, I don't have any idea what's going on. I mean, we need to know what's happening A, B, C, D. And he doesn't have an answer. So I just think this is going to be the right move, not only for this season, but moving forward. You don't need 4 games to analyze the, somewhere between 35 and 45 guys are going to make your roster. How many guys ride that bubble? Probably somewhere between 10 and 15. But how sure can you be that 4 games is going to help you analyze more than 2? I don't think it will, because 2 games is the right answer. You're not going to see guys like Aaron Rodgers. You're not going to see guys like Devontae Adams and Aaron Jones and David Bakhtiari on the field at all in the preseason, which is how the preseason should always be treated, at least in my opinion, right? Obviously, you're still getting ticket sales, and fans come to see a guy like Aaron Rodgers throw a football once or twice in the preseason. But it's not necessary, and it won't be seen as necessary come mid-late August when we actually get into preseason in the NFL. We'll talk about this more with Eli Berkovits on the other side. We'll be back after this. This is the Alex Strouf Show presented by Cream City Central.
You look at teams like the 49ers, and they literally did a 180 in terms of performance and their ability to just beat the crap out of teams. And then you go, okay, well, why shouldn't I expect that from my team? And I didn't expect that from the Packers this year. I really didn't. Now, of course, we all have high expectations for next season.
I think there's always been a sense of high expectation as a fan. I mean, even last year when, we came off of the 7-9 season when Rodgers was out half the year, the feeling was, Rodgers is back. We should do better. That clearly just wasn't the case. There's always going to be a high level of expectation when you're the Green Bay Packers, just because of the history. There's a winning culture in this area. And LaFleur knew that too coming into his job. He knew that he had to, be successful right away. Not necessarily saying he had a short leash, but knowing that if he's not successful, he won't make it out of his first contract. So I think he accomplished that with flying colors. I mean, 13-3, you'll take that every year. Obviously, you want it to end with a Super Bowl, but 13-3 is not something to look past. It's a big deal when you win 75% of your games.
That was a short clip from the Lambeau Lead, Cream City Central's only Packers podcast. Make sure to check it out today.
My first segment I am calling Just the Tip-Off, and that is my best Bob Uecker impression. Tell me what you think. I'll work on it, see if I can get that a little better. But this segment, Just the Tip-Off, the name, Just the Tip, I'm going to give you a few ideas that are just the tip of a good idea. They're not completely fully formed. Some things that are bouncing around in my head. And Tip-Off, of course, it is the first segment of this show. So last night, the Bucks were playing the Lakers. Obviously, LeBron James plays for the Lakers. One thing LeBron has put all over social media the last few months this season is his idea, and I believe he's tried to trademark it, is Taco Tuesday. He started that on social media, him and his family and Anthony Davis and some other players every Tuesday, or as many Tuesdays as possible, get together and have tacos. And he tried to trademark that, and he's trying to make some money off that. And I was thinking, what would Giannis's equivalent of Taco Tuesday be? Obviously, he had his run-in at Bel Air Cantina a few years ago, so probably doesn't want to go the taco route. Maybe he wants to play into his Greek heritage a little bit. So I had the idea for Souvlaki Saturdays. Just an idea, just the tip of an idea. Maybe that'll make its way to Giannis, and he'll run with it. Who knows? Small Ball, Milwaukee Bucks micro podcast, presented by Cream City Central. Download wherever you get your podcasts.
We welcome you back inside the Alex Strouf Show, presented by Cream City Central, and we go to the phone lines now. All the way to Chicago. We go to enemy territory, as his Twitter says. He is the host of the AMA Fantasy Podcast, as well as the Split Division Podcast, a writer for PackerReport.com and 24/7 Sports. It is Eli Berkovits. Eli, thank you for joining me, my friend. How are you?
I am doing good. Thank you for having me on, Alex. I appreciate it.
Of course, man. Anytime. So let's get into, obviously, what's been going on the first 4 months. I got to know, everything good on your end? Everybody healthy? Everybody's good on your end?
Yeah. Thank God we've been okay and taking it easy, staying indoors, wearing a mask, obviously, just doing everything we can to stay healthy ourselves and obviously do our best not to spread it to anyone else.
Yeah, I mean, it's been an interesting, 3 or 4 months now, but that's good to hear. So let's dive into some football, because hopefully we've got some on the way. I want to dive into what happened yesterday. Jordan Love and A.J. Dillon both inking their rookie deals, the first and second round picks respectively for the Packers. Jordan Love's deal, interesting. I mean, the first guy ever drafted post 25th pick with all guaranteed money, about $12 million. This obviously shows the Packers are totally into Jordan Love for the future, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's the one way you've got to look at it. I mean, you're giving a rookie who you haven't seen on the field yet a fully guaranteed contract. I mean, that shows about as much confidence as you could possibly have in a player. And it was a bit surprising to me, but if the Packers know that this guy is going to be their future, then guaranteeing him $12 million in the long run is really, nothing compared to what franchise quarterbacks are getting right now. So it did take me a bit by surprise. The bottom line, if you're trading up in the first round for a quarterback, even when you have Aaron Rodgers, that means you must really love him. So I guess that must be behind giving him the guaranteed deal.
Right. And A.J. Dillon also, as I mentioned, signing his deal. A lot of hype surrounding this guy. I mean, there was the picture that came out of him probably about a month ago now, just looking absolutely freaking ripped. And there's a lot of great film on him from his college days. What's your expectations for Dillon in his rookie year? Obviously, Jones entering a contract year, and Williams currently the second back. But do you think he could end up contributing quite a bit in year one, Eli?
I do. I really do. I think, first off, when you're running the LaFleur, Shanahan, McVay kind of offense, very predicated on the run and having multiple backs within the system. So I think having 3 backs you're confident in is a great plan. And I think Dylan will definitely see the field in year one. I mean, you have Aaron Jones, who we know what he can do with the ball, running it and catching it. But I think Dylan brings a different aspect when it comes to the power run game in the goal line, short yardage situations. I think we'll see a ton of Dylan there. I think the way it's really going to break down is Jones would be, the clear early down back. And then on third down, I think we're going to see Jones split out more at wide receiver. We saw he could do that last year. And I think A.J. Dillon could be someone we see on a lot of third and shorts and definitely near the goal line. He won't have as much of a role, obviously, if he went to a team without 2 established backs, but I definitely think Dillon will make a contribution in year one.
Eli Berkovits, my guest, reporter at Packers Report and 24/7 Sports. Let's go back to Jordan Love. Brett Favre made some interesting comments earlier this week to TMZ, of all places. I think that was more shocking to me than his comments. But saying Jordan Love could potentially play a Taysom Hill role. I think your reaction was probably similar to most of us in Packers Nation, right?
Yeah, I personally just don't see it. I think that's been a talk since the draft, and it's just, I don't see a base for it. I mean, what has Jordan Love done that would make you think he's Taysom Hill? Could we potentially see him on a handful of trick plays throughout the year where you have 2 quarterbacks on the field, maybe a different, Love throws a pass? I could see that, but it's not like we have any film or reason to believe that Jordan Love is a receiver or someone who can play that kind of Taysom Hill role. I think with a good backup quarterback like that, if Matt LaFleur wanted to be more creative, they could definitely get him involved on a couple of trick plays. But I can't imagine him throwing more than 5 or 6 passes this year if Rodgers is healthy. I don't see the value. I love Taysom Hill, but even watching the Saints, I'd always, taking a Hall of Fame quarterback like Drew Brees off the field never really seems like a knowledgeable thing to me. So we might see Love on a couple of trick plays, but I'd be pretty surprised if we saw him catching passes or anything like that.
No, I'm with you 100%. Eli Berkovits, my guest. And Eli, one of my favorite things you do on the cesspool we know as Twitter is for the last 57 days, today was day 57, Aaron Rodgers' non-touchdown throws that blew your mind. Today's was also just insane because that's Aaron Rodgers. Talk to me what's gone into this thread, if you will, the last 57 games. How much film did you have to break down to get these passes? Talk to me about the process of this.
So, obviously, being a huge Aaron Rodgers fan, I always just try to put as much of his greatness out there. And we always talk about the Hail Marys and, the Randall Cobb 4th and 8 touchdown. And he's done so many amazing plays that are touchdowns. And you see weekly on highlight reels, but I always felt like unless you're a Packer fan and unless you're watching every single snap, you can't truly appreciate just how great Aaron Rodgers is. So I decided once quarantine started to go back to the earliest I can get on NFL Game Pass, which is 2009. And I've basically watched every single Packers game since 2009. Yeah, so about 10 years of Packer football over the last few months. It's been a lot of fun. Take a lot of time, but as you see, we're at day 57. I don't plan on stopping anytime soon. Rodgers, he has an unlimited amount of plays that are just incredible and plays that you won't see if you weren't watching the game live. Because if he's going to throw 3 touchdowns, you're not going to see the other 4 incredible passes he made throughout the game. So I just wanted to try to put that out there and kind of, some people out right now are giving Rodgers almost like an afterthought. He's becoming he's been getting some hate for sure, especially since the Love pick. And I'm just trying to remind people that Aaron Rodgers is still Aaron Rodgers. And I hope this thread is doing that.
So, Eli, I don't want to peek behind the curtain too much or ruin the magic, but I really want to know, and you don't have to tell me if you don't want to, but how many of these do you have ready to go? Is there a number?
Right now, I believe I still have probably about the next week or 2 ready to go plays. I usually try to set my stuff up at least for a week, but yeah, then I've already combed back through games because there's just so much, and there's so much. It could be a 7-yard pass, but the play, the way he does it, the way he throws it, the pressure. There's so many things that just go overlooked with Rodgers because he does so many incredible things that play the down-to-down basis of his just amazingness gets overlooked at times. So I'm just trying to find those plays and put them out there and kind of remind everyone that Rodgers is still Rodgers, and that's not stopping anytime soon.
And a lot of the criticism this offseason, not even really in the direction of Rodgers, more in the direction of Brian Gutekunst and the lack of wide receiver depth. And I say that with air quotes. Obviously, you can't see that. But what's your thought on the wide receiver position right now, Eli? I mean, obviously, Equanimeous St. Brown didn't play last year. We assume he'll slot in and play a pretty crucial role on that offense. Obviously, Allen Lazard had a breakout year. And obviously, Pro Football Focus might not agree, but the best wide receiver in the NFC North is on the team as well. So what's your thought on the wide receiver depth going into the 2020 season?
I would be lying if I said I wasn't surprised that they didn't draft a receiver. I think any Packers fan would be lying if they didn't think they would. But I will agree with Goody and LaFleur that once they got to that 4th or 5th round, if you weren't getting someone that could contribute day one at a team like this in a win-now mode, I understand not drafting another project. So moving past the draft and looking at what the Packers currently have on the roster, could it be better? Yes, but I also think there's plenty of potential. First off, obviously, you have your star, Devontae Adams. You don't have to worry about that. And then there's just, I think, as you mentioned, Equanimeous St. Brown, I think his return is being overlooked, and I think it's a massive impact. We saw his playmaking ability at the end of the 2018 season. He's really good with the ball in his hands. He's fast. He's big. Just a stereotypical receiver that Rodgers loves to target. And Devin Funchess, his arrival should not be overlooked either. Last time he was fully healthy, he had 840 yards. He had 8 touchdowns. He's a good receiver. He has experience. He's been to a Super Bowl. You know, he's someone who I think Rodgers will know he can trust. He's not a rookie or a second-year guy. He's someone he knows will be able to run the routes he needs to run, and he'll be where he needs to be when he needs them. So it could be better, but I really do think Adams at 1, and the combination of Equanimeous St. Brown, Devin Funchess, Scantling on some shot plays, and then the dark horse would be Aaron Jones catching some balls and lining out wide. I think they'll be able to get enough production out of their pass catchers where we won't necessarily look back at this draft and just be completely shocked that they didn't take a receiver. I think the receivers, and then you add in Sternberger progressing in year 2. I think Rodgers should have enough weapons. As long as the run game is good as well, I think they'll be okay.
Great answer, Eli. I appreciate the perspective. Eli Berkovits, my guest of 24/7 Sports and Packer Report. Not to overanalyze your answer there, Eli, but no mention of Whitewater Jesus, Jake Kumerow. Are you thinking he doesn't make the roster because he tends to be one of those waivers, guys on the fence there? Are you thinking he's not going to make the cut?
It's going to be close. It really is. I had very high hopes for Kumerow last year. I'm a big fan of his, but I mean, let's be real. He really, outside of a couple plays, he didn't really show very much last year. I believe he had 12 catches, or maybe it was 14. But I mean, if you're he was healthy for 16 games, and if you're average a game, I mean, that says something. He's obviously a fan favorite, and he kind of fits that stereotypical Packers culture kind of guy. And I would love for him to be a success, but if he doesn't show anything throughout training camp and preseason, if there is a preseason, it wouldn't be surprising if he didn't make the cut with some of the other younger guys, because people don't realize that Jake Kumerow is the oldest receiver on the Packers roster right now.
Right.
So it's not like he's a young guy. It just took a while for him to catch on to a roster. So I like Kumerow. I hope he can make plays and prove he's worth that roster spot. But if he doesn't do anything drastic, it wouldn't surprise me if he does not end up making the 53.
Good answer, and I think I'm really in the same boat with you. He seems to be right on that fence, but yeah, you're right. That age thing is one thing a lot of people overlook. Eli Berkovits, my guest at @bookofeli_NFL on Twitter is where you can find him. Let's move to the defensive side of the ball, Eli. You wrote a piece exactly 1 month ago today, in fact, about Kingsley Keke and his potential to break out in 2020. What have you seen from him? And obviously his reps will be up in 2020. And what do you expect from him next year?
I'm expecting a big year out of Kiki. I think a lot of people in Packers land are feeling the same way. You saw last year he didn't have a ton of snaps. When he was out there, he looked like he has the potential to be a difference maker. And now another year in the league, acclimating to the NFL speed, getting the chance to work alongside someone like Kenny Clark with the Smith brothers. You know, he has all the knowledge and all the teaching with Mike Hutton there to give him the mental aspect of the game. And now it's going to come down to the physical, and I think he's built perfectly for what the Packers need. You plug Kenny Clark in the middle, you put Kiki on one of the ends in between the two Smith brothers, and I think you have a really, really solid line. I think Kiki is someone that's getting overlooked in terms of the national media, but I think within Packerland, people realize that Kingsley Kiki is going to make a difference in 2020.
We know the contract situation that's really plaguing a lot of big names on the squad, but one in particular I want to put a lens on right now is Kevin King. We know he led the team in interceptions last year, looking to have another big year as his contract is up after 2020. Is this a situation where the Packers really have to dial in on him or they have to let him walk? What do you expect with the contract situation and in 2020 from a guy like Kevin King?
It's really, really tough because as you mentioned, I mean, we're entering 2020 with 5 key players on the Packers in contract years: Kenny Clark, David Bakhtiari, Aaron Jones, Corey Linsley, and Kevin King. So I just don't see a way they're going to be able to keep them all. So this year and each one of their individual production is obviously going to play a huge role, but I've always been a big fan of King. I thought when King's on the field, he's a good player. Yes, he's made some mental errors in the past and given up some big plays, but there's a reason he led the team in interceptions. He's a playmaker. He's a ball hawk. And I think if he has I think it's almost more health than his production. I think if he can prove he can stay healthy for another 6 games, as long as he doesn't have an awful, like I said, as long as he doesn't regress, I think if he stays healthy, he will get a deal. Because I don't know if we're talking about Kevin King in a tier where he's going to be getting top 5 money at cornerback. So I think the biggest thing is the fact that the first 2 years he missed so much time, no one really saw him. Last year we got to see him for almost the whole season. He played 15 games, but he was very good. He led the team in interception. So yeah, if King can stay on the field for at least, let's say, 14 games, pick up a couple interceptions and have a good season, I think they could bring him back on a pretty team-friendly deal. Obviously, if he regresses or has a monster year and turns into an elite cornerback, it could be harder for him to keep them when you're factoring in contracts for Bakhtiari and Clark as well.
Yeah, and Eli, I might just have a case of paranoia here, but I'm scared that we're going to see a similar situation like Micah Hyde or Casey Hayward where they let him walk and he just blows into a superstar. I mean, am I looking too much into this?
No, I agree. That's actually something I've literally just mentioned to one of my friends. We were discussing all these guys going into contract years, and I said, if it comes at the end of this season and all 5 of those players played up to expectations and how you're going to figure it out, and I said, of course you kind of have to prioritize Bakhtiari and Clark, but watching Kevin King go to another team and do what Casey Hayward's done with the Chargers and Micah Hyde has done with the Bills, it would be difficult because you spent technically the first round pick on him by trading out of the first round. We all know what that first round pick was in TJ Watt. I'm not going to sit here and compare the two, but bottom line is he was our guy we picked that year, and he's shown the potential. So to go and cut bait after his rookie contract when he's just starting to ascend, it could be frustrating. We saw that with Casey Hayward, obviously. I mean, we all saw the talents he had as a rookie. He had some injury issues, and then he walked, and now he's one of the best cornerbacks in the league. So I really do think King has that potential. It's going to come down to health, I think, for him.
Okay, good answer. I appreciate that, Eli. Just a couple more for Eli Berkovits, my guest, at Book of Eli _NFL on Twitter. I want to talk about your Chicago area living. Obviously, doing what you do, it must be interesting being in what you call enemy territory. What's it like for you, Eli?
It's definitely interesting. I mean, just the other day, I was walking down the street with my mask, and of course, my mask has a big G right in the middle of it, and I'm getting these looks, and a mask has become so routine to me where I'm like, why are these people looking at me and like giving me dirty looks? Like, what's happening right now? And then I remembered I was wearing my Packers mask. But yeah, I mean, there will be some some Chicago fans out here that aren't necessarily too friendly about it, but for the most part, I haven't had any terrible experiences. But yeah, whenever anyone sees me, I mean, I don't hide. I don't hide in my Packers. I'm always wearing a Packers hat. Got a Packer phone case. I got a Packers bumper sticker. So everyone in Chicago knows exactly who I'm rooting for, and so far it hasn't been too bad.
You got kahunas of a champion, Eli, let me tell you, man. You do a lot, so I'm not even going to try to plug what you do. I'm going to let you do it for me. Tell us what you got going on and where we can find you.
Yeah, definitely. So as you mentioned, you can find me on Twitter at bookofeli_NFL, and you can find all my writing work at thepackerreport.com, which is from 24/7 Sports. I also do work for Fantasy Pros, where you can find all my fantasy writing. And if you are looking for a fantasy podcast, I am the host of AMA Fantasy Football, which you can find on Twitter at AMA Fantasy.
And before I let you go, Eli, I've been doing this with all of my NFL guests, so I'm going to put you on the spot here. Way too early pick for NFL MVP. Give it to me.
Oof, NFL MVP 2020.
It's always the reaction, man. Oof, I don't know.
Yeah. To be honest, I think I got to go with Patrick Mahomes. Even though Lamar Jackson won it last year, I think Jackson will regress to some extent. It's going to be hard for him to sustain running that much and stay healthy. So I think the Ravens are going to have to tone that back a bit. And Mahomes missed time last year. So assuming Mahomes plays 16 games, we could see another 50 touchdown season out of him, and that should likely lead to an MVP.
I like that pick. It's the safe one. Eli, thanks so much for your time, my friend. We'll do it again soon, all right?
All right, awesome. Thank you so much for having me on.
Anytime, man. That's Eli Berkovits at @bookofeli_NFL on Twitter, joining us here on the Alex Strouf Show. Really great stuff from him. He really, like I said, big kahunas, man. He's living in Chicago, repping the G. That's how we do it, man. That's how we do it. So definitely great stuff from him. If you missed any of that conversation, will be podcasted tonight. Wherever you get your podcast, just search the Alex Strouf Show. We're going to take a timeout, and then we're going to go back to Chicago. We've got to talk about one of their former quarterbacks who's had a chicken killer on the loose. I'll give you all the details on that on the other side. This is the Alex Strouf Show, presented by Cream City Central.
Would like to hear other players' views on this, just because obviously we've really only heard Blake Snell's, strong opinion on this, which I respect him because.
You haven't heard the Trevor Bauer.
Oh, maybe what has Trevor Bauer said?
So him and his agent Rachel Luba, they've been putting out all these videos with the postponement and kind of how it is from an agency perspective and a player perspective. They've been really just kind of putting everything out there that everybody's afraid to say. And I've been watching a ton of the videos with it, and they put out a whole hour video about the suspected proposal and what the rumors are. And one of the things that made me laugh so hard, and he talked about it, and he's pretty much on the same page as Blake Snell from the aspect of we already agreed to something, and the MLB is basically stepping back and saying maybe not, maybe we can't do that, which is I think what's getting the players the most. However,
shouldn't they expect that? I guess
but
everybody's life is different right now, so why shouldn't theirs be different?
But the thing that has bothered them the most, the MLB already said, okay, deal that they had put in place at the beginning of the postponement of the season. They said, okay, we will take prorated salary, so already diminishing a chunk of our guaranteed salary depending on how many games we play. And then they agreed on the service time and everything. And now the MLB has essentially said, maybe not, maybe you won't even get that much. And that's the thing that's frustrating, is because they already agreed and that's something that I never thought they would agree with in the beginning, because it's a money game. Everybody wants the most amount of money they can. And so that's where the players are like, well, what the hell are you doing now? Now you're saying I may not even get half of my salary.
Bernie's Bums, the official Brewers podcast of CreamCityCentral.com. Download wherever you get your podcasts today.
Show, presented presented by Cream City Central.
Welcome back into the Alex Strouf Show, presented by Cream City Central. And boy, oh boy, was that fun with Eli Berkovits last segment. Guy really had some awesome stuff, so really appreciate him hopping on and enjoying a good old conversation with us. But I got to dive into his neck of the woods, right? Chicago is where Eli is from. And former quarterback who you all know very well, Jay Cutler, has been in the news the last 2 weeks, which is literally my favorite thing in sports. I talked about it very briefly on Tuesday, but it's come to an end now. So to bring you up to speed, if you haven't heard about this, Jay Cutler has an Instagram at If Jay Had Instagram is his at for some reason. And so him and Kristen Cavallari, his now I think separated wife, potentially ex-wife. I know they're maybe getting a divorce or something. Not the important part. Once they split up, Jay decided to buy a rural farm in Tennessee, I believe. And he has a chicken coop, several chickens, right? But starting about, I don't know, a week or two ago, Jay Cutler's chicken farm had an issue, an intruder, if you will. Several chickens were being slain right in his yard. Chicken feathers everywhere, right? I mean, there was chickens dying, and he didn't know how. So Jay Cutler said, I'm going to go to the Instagram story, and I'm going to take care of this. So he didn't know what was going on. And he set up cameras. The cameras weren't working night after night. You know, he'd get one really close-up shot of just some fur on an animal. He couldn't tell what it was. Was it a wolf? Was it a dog? Was it a bear? Was it a raccoon? I mean, he didn't know. So Jay Cutler was then sponsored by Christensen Arms, which sells rifles. And they sent him a rifle and said, okay. And he got, night vision goggles, night vision cameras. Again, the cameras weren't working. So finally, on Tuesday night, Jay said, enough. I'm getting up at 9 p.m. I'm making coffee, and I'm sitting outside. So Jay sat outside. And Wednesday morning, finally, he had this to say on Instagram. And I quote, okay, long night. Had a pretty good storm come through. All is well and happy to report it was a raccoon, which fits the evidence. Chicken heads were ripped off and bodies were left in the chicken yard. Gruesome stuff, but reality of the situation. Ladies are now safe and sound. We can all sleep well for a few nights. Unfortunately, I'm sure this raccoon has some family members. Unquote. So Jay Cutler shot, I assume, a raccoon and saved his chickens. But that's not even the whole story, right? After this began, Jay Cutler went out and got a rooster. He called him the new sheriff in town and named him Old Blue. Old Blue to come in. Old Blue didn't really do it for him. So then he went out and got another rooster, the sidekick to the sheriff, named Merle. And Merle and Old Blue just weren't really cutting it. But luckily they survived. But they weren't cutting it. They weren't alarming Jay when a predator was coming through ripping chicken heads off. So Jay had to take it into his own hands. And instead of throwing an interception to Tremont Williams, he went ahead and got the raccoon and put it down and put the chicken killer to rest. Just an all-time story right here. Jay Cutler keeping us entertained as a divorcee or future divorcee. This is what he does now. He documents his chicken coop on Instagram, and it is the best damn thing I've ever seen. I mean, hands down. So, producer Kyle, hop in here because I believe you told me before the show you hadn't heard about this yet, right?
I had no idea, and I'm sitting here laughing my ass off, and I'm like, what? Like, how can you get...
It's there's a lot to unpack there, right?
There is. Like, what?
I know.
I have no words. I really honestly have no words to describe what's happening.
It's just unbelievable. And I made the mistake of not recording the Instagram story from yesterday, where he vlogs essentially, right? He's telling us in video form, 2-minute videos, what's going on with the chicken coop. but now it's figured it out. Only like 18% of people. So Christensen Arms also put on this giveaway where if you guess who's doing it or what kind of animal is doing it, you could enter to win a rifle. And the guy that won it, best part about the story, and they made sure they told us it's not even a lie. This is what Christensen Arms said today. 3,352 of you submitted the correct answer for Jay's culprit, the raccoon. Congrats to the winner of #Save Jay's Chickens, Greg R. And then under that, it says, and I quote, Greg is ironically combating his own chicken murderer in Pennsylvania. And no, we're not making this up. So I think I want to go find Greg R on Instagram and see if he's going to document this anywhere near the way Jay Cutler did. I mean, this is just crazy stuff. In a million years, if you told me a year ago this is what I'd be talking about is Jay Cutler's chicken killer, I would have never believed you. I mean, this is just the most outrageous thing I've ever heard in my life, but it was awesome content. And you know what? I will admit, I've always kind of liked Jay Cutler. When he was on the Bears, wasn't a huge fan, but I liked him in Denver.
I mean, he's the fourth best Packers quarterback of all time. I mean,
right.
How could you not like him?
Absolutely. He's above Lynn Dickey and the Magic Man. He's above Seneca Wallace and Brett Hundley. It is Jay Cutler in number 4. But I mean, this is just an unreal story, and Jay Cutler is the man. He is a very funny guy, and, I don't hate him like I did as a 10-year-old kid when he was on the Bears.
Well, I never necessarily hated him. I mean, I guess I should rephrase it. I guess I did kind of hate him, but because he was on the Bears. But
we all said a few things about Jay Cutler we might not like to repeat at this point.
Well, that and Brett Favre, too, when he was in the Vikings.
That's fair. See, we take our comments back. It's just out of frustration, of course. But yeah, so you don't have a chicken coop or anything, right? We don't have to worry about this situation.
I do know somebody. I do have a neighbor 2 doors down who does have a chicken coop. So there you go.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Actually,
okay.
My next door neighbor and my neighbor down the road.
They both have chicken coops.
Yeah, I live by a couple farms, so I mean,
Kyle, you have to let them know to watch out for the raccoons because Jay Cutler.
I don't think we get any raccoons out here.
Oh, you'd be surprised, buddy. Raccoons are everywhere. I bet Jay Cutler didn't think he got raccoons either, but guess what? He got raccoons. All right, man, let's take a time out. We'll do 4 p.m. headlines on the other side. Let's roll right into hour 2. We'll do it. And Victor Hensley joins us after headlines. Big hour 2. I can't wait. Let's do it. We'll be back after this. This is the Alex Strouf Show.
I'm going to read you a quote from one of Giannis's teammates. And then, using your wealth of superstar NBA experience, you are going to read between the lines and tell us if we can actually learn anything from what this teammate has said. So first up, This is from Pat Connaughton on March 31st, so just a few weeks ago. He says, obviously the city of Milwaukee, the team, everyone wants Giannis to be here forever. But Giannis has put himself in a position to provide for his family from growing up with nothing in Greece. I don't think you can fault Giannis for whatever decision he ends up making, that he believes is the best decision for him, his family, the people who are closest to him.
Yo, Pat's a smart dude. Pat's trying to get on teams with Giannis in the future, wherever Giannis ends up. Pat is not trying to ruffle feathers. Pat is giving a massage right there. That's what I do.
And can you blame him?
Not at all. Not at all.
Yeah, he's a 6'5" white dude who relies on his athleticism. Yeah, I mean, how much of a career does he have left?
There's a ceiling. There's a ceiling. Yeah, man. Of course.
All right, Pat's playing the long game. Small Ball, Milwaukee Bucks Micro Podcast, presented by Cream City Central. Download.
He is the top 5 right tackle in the league. There's no question. If you would have told me the Packers could have signed a top 5 right tackle in the league, I'm like, yes, please do it. But clearly Brian Gutekunst had other ideas, and we've seen guys leave the Packers and then kind of fade away. Maybe 1 or 2 years later. Perfect example, Clay Matthews got released by the Rams. We'll talk about him a little bit later. Demarius Randall, Deshaun Kaiser. There's been a few guys who've kind of just faded away after they left the Packers, and that tells me that Brian Gutekunst does have a good gauge as to where his roster's at. Yeah. So the argument for leaving Bulaga alone, letting him go to the Chargers, is because, so let's say the Packers have $30 million to spend and they did not spend it on Bulaga. They actually saved money sending Bulaga out to the Chargers, or not sending him, but letting him walk, and signing Christian Kirksey and Rick Wagner. Together, those two players, their contracts equals $24 million. So they save roughly about $6 million. And you know what? They even add, we'll just throw Mercedes Lewis contract in there. It's $2.25 million. So you still got looking at about 3.5. So it's interesting to see kind of the way these numbers work. And Bulaga's contract alone would have covered all three of those players. So I think that's where Brian Gutekunst does the math.
The Lambeau Lead, Cream City Central's official Packers podcast. Download wherever you get your podcasts.
Loud, unfiltered, and live nationwide. It's the Alex Strouf Show, presented by Cream City Central.
This is where things get a little tricky. I think the team that voted no today is going to be a playoff team.
From the WWSP 90 FM studios in Stevens Point, Wisconsin, here's Alex Strouf.
And the phone lines are open all hour long. 877-8-STROF, 877-878-7683. And it's also scrolling across the bottom line. Anything on your mind, we'll dive into it. Let's dive into the news first, though. Kyle with the news. Kyle.
My favorite part of the show, when I get to talk the most. So, keeping in theme with the COVID-19 news, because that's really all about what we're getting with news right now, as far as sports are concerned. 9 more NBA players test positive for COVID-19. Now, last week I reported that. Actually, I don't know if I did or not. Maybe not. I don't know. I don't remember. I don't remember what I had for breakfast this morning, much less what I did last week.
Fair enough. You old man. That's a dad joke galore right there, man. You should be wearing this hat, man. You should be wearing this one after that comment. Don't ask me why I have that. But go on.
I don't want to know why. All right. So last week, 16 NBA players tested positive for COVID-19. Yeah. This was their initial pool. But after some more tests found between June 24th and 29th, so late last week and early this week, 9 more have been found to have tested positive for COVID-19, bringing the total up to 25 players out of a pool of 351 that have since been tested. Now, in addition to this, 10 out of 884 team staff members were also tested positive. So obviously we haven't, started the bubble yet. The numbers are better than what I had expected.
Yeah, they're low.
So they're low, which is good. It's a low enough number where I would feel like you'd be able to isolate those individuals pretty easily.
Yeah, and you have like 3 or 4 weeks before it really, that number becomes, okay, now we're in jeopardy. That's okay, right? I think, like you said, that's a low enough number where I'm still pretty comfortable. And Budenholzer and Giannis, as we heard earlier at the top of the first hour, talked a lot about, yesterday, the COVID and the possibility of the season potentially shutting down after it starts, which obviously nobody wants. That's a bad optic, a thing or two that Rob Manfred knows about. But, yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, we're hearing, all these colleges coming out with, people testing positive, and the NBA seems to have kind of, brunted the blow a little bit as far as numbers on COVID-19. So it is good to hear on that front. Continuing on with the COVID theme here, current New York State guidelines prohibit fans from attending Bills games. Now, the reason why I bring this up specifically is because the guideline mandates that teams, quote, ensure that they have no live audience, fans, or spectators to attend or permit to enter any professional sports venue, even if outdoors.
Oh, wow.
So now, obviously, we're a couple weeks away from NFL training camp starting, and obviously we heard the news that the preseason was dropped down to 2 games this preseason, which I agree with should be 2 games anyways, but that's not what we're talking about here. Now, the reason why it's just affects the Bills is because MetLife Stadium, where the Giants and Jets play, is technically in New Jersey,
right?
And New Era Field, where the Bills play.
It's not technically in New Jersey. It's in New Jersey.
Shut up. It's in New Jersey. There you go.
Gotcha.
So,
well, yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I imagine this is going to pop up quite a bit, right? Obviously, we don't know what's going on with Lambeau Field. We don't even know what Miller Park's going to look like. Right now, we know that cutouts are happening and that fans aren't going to be attending games, at least now. So we'll see what happens with live sports. Not FIFA. Come on, Alex. Soccer terms here.
MLS?
No, not the MLS. The one overseas. They've been playing for like 2 months.
Oh, like Bundesliga, EPL.
No. The big one, Premier League.
EPL.
Premier League.
Whatever.
That's how I think it's pronounced. Anyway, they've been playing without fans. So it's realistic to think there won't be any at all, as we see now with the NBA. And I won't be surprised if that happens with the NFL. It's just so different because there's so many more people. It's going to be really, really interesting to see how they dictate what that's going to look like. And now, obviously, New York looks like they're the first state taking the stand against the NFL, saying no fans. So it'll be interesting to see if other states follow suit.
Yeah, so this is basically just against they didn't come out specifically and say it just for the NFL. It was already in their phased reopening plan.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily like a direct
But there's no high
school NFL.
Well, right, and there's no high school sports happening either. Then I assume.
Not right now.
Right.
So
we'll see.
All right. This is coming in during the middle of our show here. The NBA is forming a second bubble. I don't know why Woj put that in quotes, but Woj did put that bubble in quotes. I don't know why. In Chicago, for the 8 teams not invited to Orlando. So obviously the NBA originally going with the 22 teams, 13 from the East and 13 from the West and 9 from the East to play for potentially winning the Larry O'Brien, which we have talked about
going to
earlier in the show. So it sounds like, that's going to happen. It's going to be mini camps, potential scrimmages and games with other clubs. And according to ESPN's Jackie McMullen, they're looking at September as a start time for this second bubble. It's not a bad idea. I mean, you look at the teams like the Knicks, the Bulls, the Warriors. Yeah. I mean, these are teams that wouldn't have played from March until whenever the NBA plans on having a season again.
Well, and that's what I was just about to bring up, Kyle. I think obviously this makes sense to prep for next season as these 22 teams are going to be in full game mode. We're looking at the start of the next season in early December is what it sounds like. So it'll be good to see. I mean, this makes sense. Chicago, that's close to us. Maybe we can go sneak in as team personnel or something.
Honestly, I'd rather not go and watch the Knicks and Bulls face each other.
Why not? What a good game that would be.
Yeah.
J.R. Barrett versus Zach LaVine. Not J.R. Barrett. What's his name?
I don't know.
R.J. Barrett. Sorry. R.J. Barrett.
No disrespect for that, but I don't really care.
Go Duke.
Anyways.
What else you got?
Moving on. Continuing on with the NBA news, we reported on Tuesday that Damian Lillard was the cover athlete for NBA 2K21. He was the first of 3 to be announced. Now that Damian Lillard cover will only be available for if you get the standard edition on current gen systems. So if you get the standard edition for the PS4 or the Xbox One or Nintendo Switch, I would assume as well.
Yep.
You're going to get Damian Lillard.
Okay.
Well, the NBA 2K announced yesterday that Zion Williamson was going to be the standard edition for the next gen systems.
So when does the PS5 come out?
Funny you bring that up because I actually have a video that I'd like to share. How about that?
Oh, I like that. Let's do that.
So this video was shared a couple weeks ago, so it's kind of a little bit of an old news, but it is announcing 2K21 on the next gen system, so PS5 and Xbox Series X.
Gotcha. Let's.
Trying to bring you down, but for real, you might as well give up now. Think you got a chance, but I don't see how. Got a real tight grip when I hold that crown. I'm the first one in and the last one out. Whoever owns the place gotta drag me out. I don't make a sound when I stray. You better just run for your life. Run for your life. Run for your life.
He looks so unbelievably sweaty.
It's that was the meme that came out of it, was that how sweaty he looked, but
I haven't seen that yet, but my goodness.
Yeah,
that looks
really
unhealthy.
good.
Did he take a bath before that? I mean, I know it's a video game. That is an unbelievable amount of sweat for a video game. That's almost slightly ridiculous, but pretty hilarious.
Yeah, it looks fantastic. And then, so the main reason why I brought this up is because I said on Tuesday that Kobe better be the Legend Edition, because obviously Kobe passed away at the beginning of the year, which feels like 10 years ago already, with all the other crap going on. But there are actually 2 editions of the Kobe Bryant Legend Edition, one of them of which is for the current gen, and one of them is which for the next gen system. But I have those 2 covers right here. They look fantastic. I mean,
I like the one on the right a lot better, but the one on the left, obviously, from his last game, so that's sweet too.
I believe the one on the right is the current gen edition, and then the one on the left will be the next gen for PS5 and Xbox Series X.
Gotcha.
So I like the stenciling and the. I'm not much of an artist, but I thought that looked fantastic.
Yeah, that does look really good. I enjoy that as well. Good stuff.
And then final bit of news here: MLB All-Stars secretly met in Florida, organized Sandlot games during quarantine. Per Brett Giroli, I'm sorry if I said that wrong, but per Britt Giroli, I should say, of The Athletic. Max Scherzer, Justin Verlander, Giancarlo Stanton, and Paul Goldschmidt are among
some of
the big name stars that were here. So,
okay, so I did read this a little bit, and they said there was video recorded of this, but they didn't think while this childlike press release Twitter battle between Rob Manfred, the MLBPA, and the owners was going on. He didn't think it was an appropriate time to put it out. So there will be video of this surfacing. I don't know when, but hopefully soon, because that is so unbelievably badass. I can't fathom that.
Yeah, so
that's hilarious.
It's great. It's awesome, really. And all these all-stars and other players. The only notable Brewers player I could find that was on this list was first baseman Logan Morrison. He was attending these Sandlot games.
Yeah, I read that as well, and he said he actually mentioned that Max Scherzer was asking him about his slider. He was asking Logan Morrison about his slider and like asking him to break it down for him, which is very, very neat. Yeah. Kind of cool that these random players coming together in Florida and making. I like that they compare it to a Sandlot-like game. That's good stuff.
Yeah. So that's all I got. That's the fun part of the news that I had. Always like to end on the high note, as I always say, even though I never do, but I have done it recently, so.
Great stuff. Thank you, Kyle. The phone lines are wide open for the rest of the show. 877-878. And the last 4 numbers are 7683. I don't have the nice paper in front of me that I did the other day. 877-878-7683. 877-8 Phone lines are wide open. Our Twitter poll of the day today is, who is going to win more games? Is it going to be Brady and the Bucks or Newton and the Patriots? 50 votes in on Twitter. 54% of you say Newton and the Patriots. 46% of you say Brady and the Bucks. We will do your voicemails that you left on this topic later in the hour, but phone lines are wide open. If you want to talk about this, if you want to talk about what we're coming up next with, give producer Kyle a call. You'll have a straight line to me. If you want to get in, call right now. We're going to take a break. On the other side, the bandwagon's back, baby. Victor Hensley joins us for the rest of hour number 2. This is the Alex Strouf Show, presented by Cream City Central.
He is the top 5 right tackle in the league. There's no question. If you would have told me the Packers could have signed a top 5 right tackle in the league, I'd been like, yes, please do it. But clearly Brian Gutekunst had other ideas, and we've seen guys leave the Packers and then kind of fade away. Maybe 1 or 2 years later. Perfect example, Clay Matthews got released by the Rams. We'll talk about him a little bit later. Demarius Randall, Deshaun Kaiser. There's been a few guys who've kind of just faded away after they left the Packers, and that tells me that Brian Gutekunst does have a good gauge as to where his roster's at. Yeah. So the argument for leaving Bulaga alone, letting him go to the Chargers, is because, so let's say the Packers have $30 million to spend, and they did not spend it on Bulaga. They actually saved money sending Bulaga out to the Chargers, or not sending him, but letting him walk. And signing Christian Kirksey and Rick Wagner together, those 2 players, their contracts equals $24 million. So they save roughly about $6 million. And you know what? They even let's just throw Mercedes Lewis contract in there. It's $2.25 million. So you're still looking at about 3.5. So it's interesting to see kind of the way these numbers work. And Bulaga's contract alone would have covered all three of those players. So I think that's where Brian Gutekunst does the math.
The Lambeau Lead, Cream City Central's official Packers podcast. Download wherever you get your podcasts.
We welcome you back inside the Alex Strouf Show, and it's a clip I've played a lot in the last month. It's this one.
On the line for further options.
Hi there,
Where
man.
do you get off, sir?
Where do you get off, sir? And that guy joins me right now. It's one of my best friends in the world. It's my former co-host of the Bandwagon podcast from North Carolina, the great Victor Hensley here on the Alex Strouf Show. Victor, hello, buddy.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. That clip is still one of my favorite things of all time.
Yeah, so I remember we did like a Bandwagon year in review of whatever year we launched. I think that was 17, right? And that was the number 2 moment, I think we picked, or one of the, maybe we each picked a number 1 moment. But that was one of the all-time Bandwagon moments right there when Rob Manfred, number 1, and I never said this part on the show, he couldn't hear you. I was the one on the phone, and you were in my headphones, and you just yelled in my ear, "Where do you get off, sir?"
Yeah, the thing is it was like midnight, and we just randomly decided we're calling Rob Manfred.
Well, I think your O's lost in a wild card round. Isn't that what happened? Or were they still really bad in 17?
2017, that's exactly what happened to the Blue Jays.
Okay, there you go. Yeah.
So I think I was just so heated, and I was like, you know what? Nah, we got to call Rob Manfred.
No,
and I don't know why you called him, because if I was the one that was so heated, I should have called him.
Yeah, I mean, we can really, I mean, hindsight's 2020, Vic. I mean,
You're
we can
right.
really we can sit here and complain all we want, but that was 3 years ago.
We were about as organized then as the MLB is now. So
yeah, I know. Actually, Vic, I think we're a little bit better than the MLB. So while we're on the topic, I want to bring that up. Rob Manfred said to Dan Patrick earlier today, there was always going to be a 60-game season. Like, there was never a doubt in his mind that there was going to be a 60-game season. I hate that man.
First of all, I've noticed. I've listened to the show a little bit. You guys are not very friendly with one another.
I don't like Robbie.
No, he's just bad at his job. If there was going to be a 60-game season this whole time, why were we discussing it for the last 3-4 weeks?
No.
Why has this been the number 1 sports headline for weeks? Is how incompetent you are at your job. Yet you're going to come out and be like, oh, this is the plan the entire time. What do you mean? You literally have players in your league trashing you on Twitter.
Trevor Bauer is a king. I mean, he's just, Rob, tell me this, Rob, in tweets, thread. I mean, yeah, it's ridiculous. But now we have a season potentially in place. Players reported yesterday, I believe. So we're ready to go, man. So 60 games, your O's lose what, 48 of them? Or
you know what?
Is that too low?
Since we haven't lost one yet, I'm going with the 60-0 prediction.
Are you going to be one of those guys that puts 60-0 in your Twitter bio and then just keep move the wins to the loss column?
Yeah, I'm going to put it in my Twitter name. It's going to say Victor Hensley O's 60-0.
That is something you would do. Me. I hate everyone that does that, but that is something.
You're right. We'll probably lose about 90% of the games.
Yeah.
So whatever that math works out to.
About 54, I believe. Yeah. Yeah. Well, no, yeah, that's
54.
6, and that seems realistic, as sad as that is. But nonetheless, we brought you in today to lead off this conversation. It's our fight night topic this week, and you keep texting me every week when you see this segment, and you say, "What the hell does this even mean, dude?" It is, which division in the AFC is best? I went with the AFC South, and you don't know how to come up with an answer.
I don't know how to come up with an answer because what do you mean? What does the question mean? You're saying which is the best division in the AFC?
Yeah.
What do you mean by best? Like, I want your dictionary definition of best, because that could be most competitive, or it could be, which division has the most teams going into the playoffs, which division has the best chance for a Super Bowl champion. Like,
all of the above. All of the above. Combine them all. All of those are factors into your answer.
Okay.
So do you not have an answer yet?
Yeah.
My answer is the AFC South.
Okay, if we're talking most competitive, it is the AFC South.
Correct.
I'll give you that one. Okay.
Yep.
Do you want to go into why you say the AFC South?
Well, look, I mean, so Indy grabbed Phillip Rivers, and they were already a Super Bowl contender a year ago before Andrew Luck retired. I mean, people were picking them to win the Super Bowl. They were my pick about a year ago. Last July, I was picking the Colts to go win the Super Bowl. And then Andrew Luck drops the bomb. Really, I guess Adam Schefter drops the bomb that Andrew Luck would be retiring during a freaking preseason game. And then, and then you put in Jacoby Brissett, and those hopes go down the toilet drain. So now with Phillip Rivers in the driver's seat, they don't lose a lot of pieces. You get another year of development of Quentin Nelson, Darius Leonard on the defensive side. Mm-hmm. You draft a guy like Jonathan Taylor, who I just adore. And, of course, T.Y. Hilton's still there. I also wonder why. I like Indy. Obviously, Houston probably still in the driver's seat of that division. And Tennessee, we know what they did to your Ravens a year ago. So all three of those teams really have the opportunity to make the playoffs in this expanded playoff field now. Jacksonville's trash. I don't care what anybody says. They're looking at the number one pick next year. But the other three are all absolutely playoff and maybe even Super Bowl contenders.
I'm not going Super Bowl contenders by any means. Sorry about that, but I can't do it. Colts are okay. I'm not sold on Phillip Rivers. Man's old. I don't know if he has it at this point in his career. This seems like it's kind of just they needed a quarterback that's not Jacoby Brissett. Let's just bring in this guy because there's not a whole lot of options. So I think the rest of the team structurally is really good. Overall, I'm not sold on them being any kind of Super Bowl contender, but I could see them sneaking into the playoffs 100%. And I want to say good things about the Tennessee Titans. I don't want to say good things because they did, destroy my hopes and dreams last January by beating my Ravens in the divisional round. But I'm not sold on Ryan Tannehill, Alex. I'm
not either. I'm not.
I want to be. Like, he came in. I think he came in last year, and he ended up making the Tennessee Titans offense. While he was there, they're like the third most efficient offense in the NFL, right?
Yeah.
Which is amazing because you got Derrick Henry back there. He's a monster.
He's a monster.
AJ Brown's a really, really good up and coming receiver. Like, you've got pieces on this team, but then you got Ryan Tannehill, and we saw him play with the Dolphins for so long and do absolutely nothing.
Well, here's my thing, Vic, and we talked about this on Tuesday too. This is my theory to analyze quarterbacks, right? You take away their best season, you take away their worst season. This is what you're getting. Is usually how I look at it. That's how I did that. That's how I broke down the Cam Newton situation, and that's how we can look at it this way. Ryan Tannehill's not that good typically. Did he all of a sudden just take this amazing step last year in this offense? Maybe, but doubtful, right? I don't know what we're going to get out of Tennessee this year, but the X factor absolutely is Ryan Tannehill.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, let me be clear. Mike Vrabel is a hell of a coach, and he's he's the best coach I would say Ryan Tannehill has had, and I think it's great for him to have him, telling him what to do and helping him out as a veteran quarterback, trying to still navigate his career, because it really, like I said, his career has been disappointing up to this point. It really has. And I know a few Dolphins fans who just cannot stand Ryan Tannehill because he just wasn't good for them, and they thought he was going to be good. But at the end of the day, with the Tennessee Titans, Ryan Tannehill doesn't have to be Lamar Jackson. He doesn't have to come in here and destroy everybody. He doesn't have to be. All he has to be is be competent.
Yeah.
Because they've got that defense there. The defense is stout. They've got some decent pieces, and they got Derrick Henry, man. You just give him the ball and let him do his thing. So as long as Ryan Tannehill's not making mistakes, I think the Tennessee has a chance to win this division. In my opinion, this may sound crazy, I still think it's Houston's division to lose.
That's tough for me. I think you're right.
I know Bill O'Brien hates his own team and wants to drive it into the ground. I get that. But Deshaun Watson is the man. They've got a great receiving core, Brandon Cooks and Will Fuller. They've got David Johnson, who, if he can be healthy, can do a little bit of something. J.J. Watt, if he can be healthy, they can do a little bit of something.
Yeah.
It all depends basically on their health and how, basically, if Bill O'Brien doesn't run the team into the ground within the next couple of months. I think it's still their division to lose, because really there's not a standout team in this division. I know the Tennessee Titans went to the AFC Championship last year, but I could see the Tennessee Titans also having what the Jacksonville Jaguars were back in 2017 when they went to the AFC Championship, and that was basically it. So I think because of this, and because I don't know who's going to win this division, I think that is why this is the most competitive division, because it really truly is up in the air. And
do you look at any other division and not know? Do you think the other three divisions are done deals? Right? I don't know if the AFC East is. The AFC North, and I know you're a Ravens fan, so you're very confident in them. It makes sense to me that they'd win the division again. But is there a potential that Pittsburgh or Cleveland could really take that next step?
I mean, I think the AFC North could have 3 playoff teams. If Cleveland, because Cleveland got rid of Freddie Kitchens, I think that's going to be a massive, great thing for them. Like, that's going to be huge. So I think Cleveland could take a next step. They're not going to be the first place in the division. I think they're still going to finish 3rd, but I think they can make the playoffs. At this point in time, the Ravens were 14-2 last year. They've only gotten better in the offseason. There's no reason to think that they're not going to win that division. Same thing, obviously, with the AFC West and the Kansas City Chiefs. So I think the only 2 divisions at this point where there is a question mark are the AFC East and the AFC South. And up until 4 days ago or whenever it was, I thought the Buffalo Bills had the AFC East on lock.
Right.
But now it's just like there's just so many question marks with that. So I feel bad for Bills fans, man. I thought this was finally going to be their year, and I don't know if they have it. So.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, we'll end fight night there because you can't come to a definitive answer. We'll just say we agree. I don't know. Who knows? How about we dive into some voicemails? How do you feel about that? Well, before we do that,
I feel good.
The Twitter poll, did you vote in it?
I didn't vote. I have because I'm going back and forth on that too, but I do have an answer.
What is your answer?
So originally, I thought it was going to be the Patriots, man, because Cam Newton, I think he's going to come back strong. However, I think Tampa Bay, with Tom Brady having all those weapons, here's something that might shock you, actually. At this point in their careers, I think Jameis Winston is a better quarterback than Tom Brady. I'm just going to go ahead and put that out there, right? I don't know if that's a hot take or not. I think Jameis
what'd you just say?
Is a better quarterback than Tom Brady.
What?
I'm just saying. If you look, if you look at the statistics, especially last year, and I know the Patriots didn't have as many weapons or whatever you want to say.
Are you aware how many interceptions Jameis Winston threw last year?
Other than that, Jameis Winston is a really good quarterback. He had led the league in passing yards, second in passing touchdowns.
Yep.
And if you look at some of the advanced metrics, he was a lot better than Tom Brady was last year. They were better at every single thing except for Tom Brady was a better passer in the pocket. That's it.
Huh. Hot take, indeed.
I'm just saying.
I'm never going to shame a hot take, but that seems silly to me.
I mean,
Jameis Winston is. I mean, you're saying right now, right? I mean, in this particular. Yeah. Okay, so Kyle,
right now,
producer Kyle has this theory that Tom Brady is a system quarterback and the Bucs are going to be no good.
Yes, I'm not saying the Bucs are going to be no good. I'm not saying the Bucs aren't going to be no good. I'm saying that the Bucs will have less wins than the New England Patriots.
See, I see where you're coming from, because the Patriots have that stingy defense, and Tom Brady maybe isn't going to be as good. I don't know, but I think when you give Tom Brady, Mike Evans, and Chris Godwin, guys, Chris Godwin had 118 targets and no drops last year.
Yeah, he's a beast.
And
Mike Evans is probably what, top 7, top 8?
Mike Evans has had the 3rd most receiving yards the last 5 years combined.
Yeah.
Like, you give Tom Brady, a 6-time Super Bowl champion, that kind of receiving core, along with Gronkowski, O.J. Howard, and Cameron Brate, when you know the dude loves to use tight ends, it's going to be hard to bet against Tom Brady in that situation. And one more thing I'll say about this, and the reason why originally I thought the Patriots were going to be better than the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were this upcoming season was because of the defenses. I thought, the Patriots have a way better defense than the Bucs. But if you look at the numbers, guys, the Bucs last year were 5th in defensive efficiency. The only reason they looked bad with some of the other statistics was because Jameis Winston was throwing picks nonstop and putting them in terrible positions. So I think that the defense.
You're a big Jameis Winston guy.
I'm not a big Jameis Winston guy. I think he's a good and bad quarterback, like we all should.
Yes.
I mean, the dude he's yin and yang. He's
yin and yang. I like that. I like that.
But I just think
I mean, the dude did carry my fantasy team last year. I will give Jameis Winston that. I mean, he's good for 300 yards and 4 touchdowns.
Yeah, we'll take it. All right, let's go to the voicemails. Greg from the 920 says this on today's topic.
If I had to go with one, I'm going with Cam in the path. I mean, never doubt Belichick, never doubt that defense, and you got to believe that, you know, Tom Brady's older. He's going to struggle a bit. It's going to be harder. Yeah, they got great receivers, but it's a different system, and he doesn't have Belichick. So I'm going to go with the Patriots, and Cam got more wins. I think it's going to be a lot of different things that people haven't seen before. I mean, Belichick's never had a mobile quarterback that he can really do something with. So pass all the way.
One thing I want to bring up with that, too, is you have to look at, and we just got done talking about the divisions. Think about how easy it was for the Patriots to get an automatic six wins in their division.
Yeah.
Now compare to the division of the AFC South, which
NFC South.
NFC South, which is probably the best division in the NFC, is the NFC South.
Yeah.
It's going to be tough for Tom Brady. I mean, going up against New Orleans, Carolina, Carolina's, whatever, and Atlanta, who I think is going to be a dark horse team to potentially slip into the playoffs this season. The divisions are certainly tougher for Tom Brady.
Kyle, are you trying to discredit Tom Brady and the Patriots by just saying they had an easy division for the last 20 years?
I mean, they have.
Yes, that led to 6 Super Bowl rings. That's all it was.
Yeah, I don't know about all that.
I mean, when your best quarterback in your division you ever faced was Chad Pennington, I don't know.
Hey, Mark Sanchez was pretty good for a few years.
And Mark Sanchez.
Tim Tebow.
Oh, yeah. You got Tebow. Who else was in that division? Didn't Mike Vick play for the Jets for a while?
He had a cup of coffee in New York,
Yeah, a cup of coffee, indeed. The one thing, though, that I want to bring up before we get to the next voicemail that Greg said, Belichick's never had a mobile guy, and we played the soundbite the other day. I'll play it again from Belichick. This is what Belichick said back in September of 2017 on Cam Newton.
Can throw, run, make good decisions, can be in a lot of. I mean, I would put Newton at the top of the list. Not saying that there aren't a lot of other good players that do that, but I would say of all the guys, we play or have played recently in the last couple of years, I would definitely put him. He's the hardest guy to deal with. See, he makes good decisions. He can run. He's strong. He's hard to tackle. He can do a lot of different things, beat you in a lot of different ways. We saw that in the game down there in 13. So I would put him at the top of the list.
So that's Bill Belichick. His voice, number one, is just the worst. But he has you saw what he did in the game in 13. It's just he sounds so grumpy and bored all the time. I hate that.
He is grumpy and bored.
He's Bill Belichick. What do you expect?
I mean, nothing less than what we just had by any means, or nothing more, I guess I should say. But unreal. But anyway, that's what he had to say. Obviously, mobile, hard to take down. As long as he's healthy, man, I just have a hard time believing that Cam Newton doesn't lead the Patriots to a lot of wins. The one thing I'm glad we're all in agreement on, though, is that he is the starting quarterback.
Well, I mean, if you were watching on Tuesday, it is apparently the Stidham. What did Matt Fralick call it? The Stidham?
The Jarrett Stidham Slander Sports Show is what he called it.
Go.
And I'm all for it, man. I just can't get behind Jarrett Stidham. This is our other voicemail.
What's up, people of the Alex Strouf Show? This is Michael Bolig. My Twitter handle, if you want to follow, is @mbolig2000. So go follow it. The question of the day is, which quarterback and team is going to have a better season? Is it going to be Cam Newton and the New England Patriots or Brady and Tampa Bay? I've got to go with Tom Brady and Tampa Bay. Tom Brady has way more weapons with Chris Godwin and Mike Evans. They got a great rookie receiver out of Minnesota, I believe, that I really like. Cam Newton, on the other
likes him so much
though,
he knows his name.
Isn't there. He's 0-8 in his last 8 starts. His team is declining. The Patriots are completely declining.
Come on.
People blame Tom Brady for last year. Yes, he was slowing down.
They made the
so was
playoffs.
Other pieces on.
I'm cutting this off. Nope, I don't like that.
They were 8-0. They started 8-0. Just FYI.
This one's for you, Mike. This one's for you.
What did you say? What did you say? What did you say?
I don't need it. I don't need it. We don't need that here. We don't need that. We don't need that, Mike. You're cut off.
I don't understand, and maybe one of you guys can help me figure this out. why are people talking about the whole 0-8 thing in his last 8 starts?
Because apparently that's an important stat, which is it's not. You're absolutely right. Go on.
Like first of all, he played for the Panthers, who are just not a good football team and haven't been. So that's just a fact. And then second, he had the shoulder injury. I think he went 0-6 his last 6 starts of 2 years ago. And then last year he had obviously the Lisfranc injury in his foot. Like, he hasn't been healthy any of those 8 starts. So like, what? It's not relevant. It's just not relevant. And one thing I will say, I'm not one of those people who thinks Cam Newton's going to have any kind of bad year. I think he's actually going to have a really good year. And as soon as the Patriots signed Cam, I was like, New England's scary again. I tweeted that out because I do think they're scary again. And I think they're going to have a good year. But one thing I looked at when determining whether the Bucs or the Patriots are going to have a better year, the Bucs have the 16th hardest schedule. Patriots have the hardest schedule in the NFL.
Ooh.
Just based off opponents' win percentage last year, they have the hardest schedule in the NFL. It's just an uphill battle. So
they still get the Dolphins and Jets for 4 games, and I imagine the matchups with Buffalo will still be pretty solid. They have been the last few years, but yeah, I mean it'll be interesting to see for sure.
Tom gets to play the Panthers twice, so
that's
but the Panthers have Teddy Bridgewater now. Just saying.
Oh, yep.
See, yeah, well, okay, Victor, you're sitting in North Carolina. You're not a Bridgewater guy, I don't think.
Not a Bridge. I mean, I like him. He's a great dude. I don't think he's a very good quarterback, but I mean, he's a great guy.
Very sweet humanitarian of you, Vic.
Yeah, that's a good way of saying he's a shitty football player. That's okay.
I mean, he's not terrible. He's just not. I mean, he played. He came in when Drew Brees was hurt last year, and for what 5 games he did
won every single start.
But he didn't do anything in those 5. I think one game he won like 9-6 or something like. It was some little stat like it's just. I'm sorry, man.
He might have had a great run, but it might be a little bit overrated. That's understandable.
And the Panthers are very bad. Like they're not a good team. They got Christian McCaffrey. That's about it.
Yeah, but now you got the elusiveness of Teddy Bridgewater to pair with McCaffrey. It might make for some fun football, but that division's way too tough.
I don't think Teddy's very elusive.
So hold on, before you continue, we're going to take a break. On the other side, we're going to pick who takes last place in all 8 divisions. We'll do a little round table. Phone lines are wide open, 877-8-STROFE, 877-878-7683. Scrolling across your bottom line. Give us a call if you want to chime in on anything NFL. We're taking our last time out on the other side. Last place round table for the 2020 NFL season and our Thursday rather thoughts. This is the Alex Strouf Show presented by Cream City Central.
Talking MLB proposal for the 2020 season.
Dude, I am so fired up about this. Like, I have gone on so many rants to the people around me who couldn't care less about it, but this whole thing has just got me in a tizzy.
So, for the people that don't know, maybe me, how about you give us some of the details about what they proposed?
Okay. So I'll lay down kind of, this is what we know or is rumored to be on the proposal. Obviously, stuff hasn't officially been said, but the 4 main things that I've heard at least are to be an 82-game season, the playoffs would be expanded, there'd be the universal DH, and then the 50-50 revenue split. And so I guess we can kind of go down the lines. 82 games, it makes sense. So if we start on July 4th, it will just, and the other thing that I forgot to write down is it'll most likely be like region play. So you'll be playing only your division and then maybe interleague games with the division in your region. So like the AL Central would play the Brewers, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's tough because it definitely makes you feel like the season would have an asterisk next to it.
I think it would inevitably. I mean, it is a shortened season. Any shortened season is going to have an asterisk next to it, and much less the circumstances around it. Like, this season will be talked about for years if it does go through, which, to be honest, I don't know if it will. But
Bernie's Bums, the official Brewers podcast of CreamCityCentral.com. Download wherever you get your podcasts today.
Time to jump into a little bit of fun. We're not going to pick.
We've been having fun all show. What are you talking about?
I always have fun. I'm always having fun. 24/7, 366, baby. I'm having fun. This is the Alex Strouf Show presented by Cream City Central. Producer Kyle to my left, I think, but really my right. And Victor Hensley from North Carolina joining me underneath at FreeZeal33 on Twitter. We're going to jump into not first place, not second place, not third place, but who's going to take last place in every division. Some of them tougher than others, but most of them will be pretty easy picks. We'll go NFC North last because that's what the people came here for. So let's start with the AFC North. Vic, I'm going to start with you since that's your division. Who takes last place this year? Inevitably, is it Cincinnati?
It's Cincinnati.
Yeah, I agree.
Sorry, Joe Burrow, but it's Cincinnati. They got a long way to go.
Without looking at their schedule, what do we think is a maximum win count for Joe Burrow in year one? 4? 5?
5. I'm going to say 5.
5-11. That's good for last place in that division for sure. I think the other 3 teams win at least 6, right? I mean, there's no way Cleveland or Pittsburgh's winning less than 6 unless somehow Ben Roethlisberger gets the boot back. I mean, other than that, I don't see anybody losing more than 6 games, or winning less than 6 games in 2020. And Kyle, I assume you're on the Cincy bandwagon as well.
I mean, there's really no other choice unless Pittsburgh or Cleveland really, underwhelm greatly, but I don't think that's going to happen.
Let's go East. AFC East. I think there's 2 options here. Vic, we'll start with you again.
Yeah, I got to go to the – dang, this is hard.
This one's a little bit tougher.
I want Sam Darnold to do something, but he's probably not. I'm going to go Jets last
You're going to go Jets, okay. Yeah. Kyle?
I still got to go Dolphins. I mean, they have a lot of young talent, but that's their issue. They have a lot of young talent.
So I think I want to go the direction of Miami as well, but it depends. I mean, I don't think we're going to see Tua at all. So if we don't, they're probably not going to be in last place if we don't see Tua at all. Because if they are in last place, then I think we see Tua toward the end of the year. But I'll go with Miami. I think that makes most sense to me right now. Go ahead, Vic. You don't need to raise your hand. You can just talk.
Can I pause for a second? I forgot. I thought I was in class. You definitely give off teacher vibes.
Oh, that's a great compliment. Thank you so very much, you asshole. Yeah.
I do want to just remind everyone here, or I'm sure nobody actually knows, but I remember you did pick the New York Jets to make the playoffs last year.
I did. You're absolutely correct.
Wow, that's a hot take.
I did take them to be the 6th seed last year. But, okay, it's not my fault Sam Darnold got kissing disease and was out for the first 6 weeks. That's not my fault.
Yeah, you should have known that.
They were still never going to make the playoffs even.
No.
Blah, blah, blah. Okay, 2 Miami, 1 New York. Let's go South. Division we talked a lot about already. I'm assuming it'll be unanimous in Jacksonville.
Minshew Mania is last place.
Yeah, nobody wants to be there. That's how bad they are.
Yeah, nobody wants to be. And Jacksonville is a great city. It's very nice there weather-wise. But that's too bad.
Nice of you to say.
Nobody wants to go play with Doug Marone, or for Doug Marone, rather.
I love how Yannick is still there, by the way.
Who's that?
Yeah, Jonathan Ngakoue. He's tried to get out of Jacksonville forever now.
I have no idea who that is.
That's their best player.
Yeah, at this point, he's their best player. He's even trying to get out of there for 6 months, and they still haven't traded him.
For him. Great stuff. Where haven't we gone yet? West. Now, this one's tough. This one is tough. West is tough. I think we all know Kansas City is going to win the division, at least be up there at the very worst. They won't be in last place. I think the other 3 teams are all options. Let's start with Kyle.
It's funny because when we were talking about the best AFC division, my pick is the AFC West.
I know it is.
But, I think John Gruden's got something up his sleeve. I don't know what it is, but he's got something up his sleeve. And it certainly isn't last place.
Unless it's better players, I don't think.
Thank you. I agree with that.
So I'm going to go with what I have adopted as my favorite AFC team is the LA Chargers. Tyrod Taylor's not going to cut it.
Yeah, I'm with you, I think, but I don't think they're my last place team. Vic?
Yeah, I'm going San Diego Chargers. I'm never gonna.
Well, San Diego Chargers don't exist anymore, so
I'm never gonna accept the fact that they moved to LA. So they're always gonna be the same.
No, nobody is. I agree with you. So I went to San Diego. It was the year they moved to LA, and I went to a sports memorabilia shop right outside the Padres Stadium. Petco Park, I think it's called. And everything was like $5 for Chargers gear. And
And it
there
was still there. Nobody was buying it.
No, and I'm going back to San Diego later this month, so we will find out. I'm going to have to stop in that same very shop just to see what's still there. But there was a ton of Charger stuff there. I'm not picking the Chargers to go last place, though. I think Tyrod Taylor's got something up his sleeve, and
Unless
it's not
more
last
talent,
place.
I don't think it's gonna.
I think Las Vegas is in last place. Gruden's getting fired after this year. Derek Carr's out of a job after this year. I don't think they're good, and I don't think this move to Las Vegas is going to pay off whatsoever in making them a better football team. I don't think they're going to be good. I like Denver a lot, though. On that note, I think they're going to take second in this division.
I want to know the behind the scenes of why Cam ended up going to New England, and this is kind of off topic a little bit, but because I think with Las Vegas and with LA or San Diego, whatever you want to call them, I think both of them really should have pushed to sign Cam Newton. Maybe that's just me, but I think they both could have used him in that locker room. But
yeah, I don't get that either.
I still think there's a good possibility that, I mean, we've only heard one team reportedly interested, but Colin Kaepernick potentially going to LA and play for the Chargers. So
yeah, they were the team rumored a couple of weeks ago, but obviously nothing has happened since. I really would be interested to see, and obviously now that there are Hard Knocks, and we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, Kyle, that would be some great hashtag content right there. Although the Antonio Brown situation in Oakland last year, obviously Las Vegas now, that wasn't documented very well at all either. So maybe they won't document the Kaepernick situation if he does sign in LA. But nonetheless, let's go to the NFC. Let's start in the West. Let's go NFC West. I think this is the toughest division to predict. Who wants to start? I'm just going to throw it out.
I'll take the Cardinals because I still think they're going to be last place. I know they added DeAndre Hopkins. They added what was my favorite prospect in the draft in Isaiah Simmons. Kind of the same thing with Miami, is they have a lot of young talent.
Yeah.
They have a young, very young quarterback who I think Kyler Murray is going to be a great quarterback in the future. They still have a very young head coach, Cliff Kingsbury. I just don't think that it's going to be tough. It's going to be close between the Cardinals and the Rams for being last place, but I still think it goes to the Cardinals just because of the youth factor and the inexperience. And it will cost them some games.
Okay.
I can see that. My pick is the LA Rams. I think they're basically the Jaguars of the NFC. Now, they're not going to be to that level of mediocrity, but they're basically just having a fire sale, getting rid of everybody.
Yeah.
Not that many people want to be there anymore. I think they're just going to plummet. So
And
I don't think
they're paying an overrated quarterback.
Yeah,
And
Jared
now-
Goff.
yeah.
Jared Goff isn't very good. He got a nice contract, and now he's just going to slump. I agree with the Rams pick, but I'm very close to making the hottest take I've had in the history of this show.
I know exactly what this is.
I think San Francisco takes third place. I don't think they make the playoffs this year. I think they digress dramatically. I really
What are you
do.
basing that off of?
I just look what LA did, right? They didn't lose that many pieces after the year of the Super Bowl. The McVay offense got figured out, and now they're trash. And once again, for the second year in a row, we're picking them to take last place in that, or not the second year in a row, but we're taking them to plummet. I agree. I think the rankings of that division, at least right now in my head, go fourth place LA, third place San Francisco, second place Arizona, and first place Seattle. You can't shake your head at me like it's an idiotic statement, because I picked LA to not make the playoffs last year, and everybody went, "Oh, you're crazy! You're so stupid!" But look exactly what happened. It's not like this roster is, oh my goodness, special. Jimmy G's not even a top, 20 quarterback.
Well, I wasn't.
They did, and LA went to the Super Bowl the year prior, and they didn't make the Super Bowl.
I wasn't shaking my head at LA going last place. I'm shaking my head at you thinking Arizona's going to get second place.
I think.
Yeah, I think that's the thing for me is, like, do you really think Arizona's making that big of a jump? Because I think that's a major jump.
I think 9 wins will slot them in second place in that division, maybe 10.
See, I think they lose a couple games just purely out of their youthful inexperience.
They have DeAndre Hopkins and Larry Fitzgerald to help Kyler Murray, who's elusive, quick, and going into year 2. I like that team a lot. And Chase Edmonds is a stud back. I mean, he had a huge breakout year last year, looking for more in 2020. I like Arizona's offense a lot. Their defense, not as much. But if your offense is as electric as theirs could be, there's a good case to make there.
Alex, I hope you're wrong.
I'm not going to be because I never am. Let's go NFC. Did we start in the West or did we go South already?
No, we haven't gone South yet.
Let's go South then. NFC South, another fun one.
Carolina.
NFC East. Washington.
I think you can make a case for the Giants, but I'm not going to because I'm not that stupid. So
we had Denton Day on the show on Tuesday, and I asked him who's better, Dwayne Haskins or Daniel Jones, and he laughed hysterically at me and said, "You can have your Danny Dimes. I'm taking my boy Dwayne Haskins all the way, but I'm still picking his boy Dwayne Haskins to take last place in the NFC East."
Yeah,
I think Dwayne Haskins' weight is much better than Daniel Jones. But the talent around Daniel Jones is a lot better than what Dwayne Haskins has. So I'm going Washington.
I do like the hire that Washington made with Ron Rivera, but I don't think it translates to any immediate success.
That's fair. I'm okay with that. And last but not least, of course, the NFC North. Who do we think takes last place? If you say Green Bay, I am never letting you come back on the show, Victor.
I thought that's what Kyle was going to say. So.
Oh, yeah, me too.
I'm not going Green Bay. I think the Pack. I mean, if we're gonna throw out, we didn't really throw out any win-loss records, but I'll throw one out, and I'll say the Packers do obviously digress a little bit in terms of win-loss record, but I still think they win the division at 11-5.
Okay. Who's taking last?
Our good friends in the Motor City, the Detroit Lions, because I think that the Detroit Lions have had years and years of incompetency. If Rob Manfred were to own an NFL team, it would be the Detroit Lions.
That's I'm actually okay with that. I don't love that pick though, Vic. I'm going to let you take the next.
Rob Manfred basically does run an NFL team, and they're called the Washington R words. So I think he basically already owns that. I guess I'll go the Lions also.
Wow.
I don't like the Bears. I really don't. But
okay, well let me end this with this because I disagree with both of you. Number one, the Bears are taking last place again, and secondly, the Lions are making the playoffs this year. Matt Stafford, Kenny. Yes, that offense is absolutely stacked.
Their offense has been stacked for years and years, and they couldn't.
Matt Stafford was hurt for the end of last year, and he was on pace to lead the league in passing yards, break all of his career records.
How did leading the league in passing? How did leading the league in passing yards end for Jameis Winston?
Poorly is the answer to that question.
Poorly is the answer to that question. But Vic is using him leading the league in passing yards as an excuse to have him better than Tom Brady last year.
Oh, I mean, I said more than just that, but yeah.
I know you did.
I've always thought that Matt Stafford was a guy who had so much potential to be a great quarterback. I think he's good. I think he's the second best quarterback in the NFC North. I'll put him over Kirk Cousins, but there's just something about him that always underwhelmed me in some way, and I can't really explain it, but he's always underwhelmed in some way.
Well, it's because of his lack of success, I would imagine.
That's probably what it is, yeah.
Yeah.
He had a generational talent wide receiver in Calvin Johnson. They only made the playoffs twice. They lost both games. Actually, I don't think he made this. Did he even make the second time in the playoffs with Calvin Johnson? I don't remember.
No, I don't think so. It was without him. But no, I think Detroit makes the playoffs. Or at least they're close. I maybe not, but just given that division, it's tough. But Detroit's not taking last. I think they win 9 games.
I'm assuming you think they sneak in as the 7th seed.
Yeah, they'd be the 7th seed if they get in.
I still think you're wrong, but okay.
And I think Minnesota's probably due for the 5, and Green Bay probably a 2 or a 3.
Are you thinking that? I think there's a good chance that 3 teams come out of the NFC South.
I do too. I think Atlanta, New Orleans, and obviously Tampa Bay all have a case. And I think this is the other division where you can make. I mean, there's 3 divisions in the NFC where you can make this case.
And 2, I think 2 come out of the West. Maybe 3. Maybe.
Yeah.
Probably not.
So are you saying 2-2-2 and then 1 out of the East?
Yeah. Probably.
That's what I think too. That's what I think.
That makes sense. But I think Detroit. I mean, obviously the time stamp on Matt Stafford is not working in their favor by any means. He's getting up there, so it'll be interesting to see. All right, those are our picks for last place NFL teams. That was a fun little round table. Wasn't that tough?
Stay tuned next week, and we'll do 3rd place teams.
Yeah, we'll do 3rd place. No, I'm just kidding. All right, let's dive into our. No, go ahead, Vic.
I want to know who's going to be 2nd place in the first half of the season next year.
Okay,
that's what we need to do next week.
Okay, yeah, we'll do that next week, and Vic will come back for that segment. All right, let's dive into our Thursday thoughts to wrap up and get us started on the holiday weekend. I definitely didn't tell Vic we were doing this, so he's going to come up with it on the fly.
Well, I apologize to Vic because the banner is going to cover up part of his face.
Well, then you don't even need to.
Actually, never mind.
No, never mind. Look at that.
All right, never mind,
Wow.
Vic. You don't got to worry
Technology.
All right, producer Kyle, lead us off.
So everyone's heard of stupid injuries across the NFL, or I mean across all sports really. Jason Pierre-Paul had the fireworks incident a couple years ago.
Timely
injury. Yeah, Martin Gramatica had the infamous celebrating the extra point, then tore his ACL. Flexico Burris shot himself. But I have another one for you.
Flexico Burris shot himself.
I have another one that trumps them all. Cubs pitcher Jose Quintana injures himself washing dishes. How about this news coming out from our good friends, the Chicago Cubs, today?
Our great friends.
Yeah, I don't like the Cubs at all. He was the 31-year-old. This is coming from ESPN. Was injured at his home in Miami, suffering a laceration on his left thumb that requires 5 stitches. It is unclear if Mr. Quintana is going to be able to start the season. He is going to go under a.
Sorry about that.
Was that like? Were you like
celebrating
trying to
injury over here?
Were you trying to like cut me off or something or what?
I don't know what just happened. I apologize. Go on.
Was that like a way to cut me off?
No, it wasn't. Go on. That was totally unintentional.
Okay. All right. I gotta recruit myself here because holy crap. So he's gonna go under a 2-week rehab plan, and then he'll start a pitching rehab plan with the Cubs, and it's unclear if he'll start the season. So washing dishes leads to a potential. I don't know what, but this takes the cake here. That's what I got.
So I have a story to back this up. So Scooter Gennett, who used to play second base for the Brewers, back in, I want to say 2015, I think they were playing Cincinnati, who he now is with. And in the clubhouse after the game, he chopped his hand on the soap holder.
Yeah.
He cut his hand open, and I got to cover his rehab assignment with the Timber Rattlers in Appleton. And that's one of the craziest ones I remember. And I got to cover it firsthand. So that one was weird. I mean, that one was up there for me, just maybe because I was there. But my Thursday thought is this, and I think Vic will appreciate this. So I saw a post on Facebook. It's been shared quite a few times. And it's about Brussels sprouts. And people are saying, ew, these are gross. Oh, that's the worst. And you know what I have to say? Brussels sprouts are terrific, and you need to grow the F up. Final answer. Grow up and eat your greens.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
And vegan Victor down here probably agrees, I hope.
I do. They're
do you like Brussels sprouts?
Yeah, they're not my least favorite vegetable.
Okay. Do you have a thought for us?
I do have a thought, yeah.
Okay, hit us.
So, we were captivated. I feel like this is starting out really well. We were captivated the
I'm
last
captivated
couple months.
now.
We were captivated these last couple months, or especially during quarantine, the heat of quarantine, with Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, Dennis Rodman, Phil Jackson, all these guys in The Last Dance, right? We all sat down on Sunday nights, eager to watch The Last Dance, this 10-part documentary.
I'm gonna be honest, I only watched like 2 or 3 episodes, but carry on.
I only watched the first 6, so you're not preaching to the choir here.
I actually like sports, so that's my thing.
Okay.
So I do have something better, though. I think 10 years from now, 20 years from now, we need a 10-part documentary. After The Last Dance, people were talking about, what athlete would you want a 10-part documentary on? People were talking about Tom Brady, which one's coming, I think, next in 2021. All these different athletes. People were throwing Michael Phelps, have a 10-part documentary on him, blah, 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 right? We need a 10-part documentary on this Orlando bubble with the NBA.
Oh, yeah.
I want to know what happened. I need cameras everywhere. I want to know what's going on. I want to know how horny the players get.
That's what I was just about to say, man. There's going to be underground tunnels just to get some.
Yeah.
Some censored stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just want to know what happens. I want to know Damian Lillard's got this whole recording studio. He's going to set up his room. I want to know all of this. I want to see all this. 20 years from now, we're in another pandemic. I want to know. I want to sit down every Sunday night to watch a documentary about the Orlando bubble and potentially the Chicago bubble, which is apparently coming. So
that one will be a little bit less interesting, I think. Though I mean, you've got all the stars in Orlando. I mean, Zion, Dame. I mean, the biggest star.
Are you saying that RJ Barrett's not a star?
That's exactly what I'm about to say. He's the biggest star in the Orlando bubble. Yeah.
I'm going to use the end of my Thursday thought to say Zion Williamson should not be on the NBA 2K21 cover. Thanks, guys.
All right. Well, there you go.
There you go from Victor. That'll do it for today's edition of the Alex Strouf Show. Big thanks to Eli Berkovits and my boy Victor Hensley for hopping on with us today. Producer Kyle, I hope you have a wonderful holiday weekend, my friend, and we'll see you back here on Tuesday, same time, same place, 3 to 5 on Tuesday. Big week ahead, and we'll talk to you all about it over the Twitter sphere on Monday.
Or as you say, the cesspool that is Twitter.
The cesspool that is Twitter, indeed. But like I said, that'll do it for today's edition of the Alex Strouf Show. For producer Kyle, I'm Alex Strouf. Peace!